100 years of horror filmmaking may have led to the best horror movie of 2024. Longlegs is a horror movie distributed by Neon and stars Micah Monroe and Nicolas Cage, with Cage playing the titular Longlegs. I saw the film last week and it has stuck with me ever since then. From the imagery to the pacing, plus the messaging of course, this film is as dense as some of the great horror movies of the past, as well as housing some great performances and some killer moments. Before we get into spoilers, let's talk about what we can discuss and lay out why you should definitely give this a watch.
I gotta be quiet.
Sir, can you stay on the line with me?
But it's not my daughter.
As the title suggests, Longlegs is not the pinnacle of horror filmmaking from the past century, but a natural conclusion of all those years. It's obviously not the end of horror movies as a whole. However, the techniques employed by director Oz Perkins, son of Anthony Perkins by the way, are so entrenched in horror filmmaking that it makes you think about all these films from the past. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, Nosferatu, and others employed heavy shadows and frightening effects to amplify the horror of the monsters in question and the horror facing the characters. In Longlegs, you get one of many subversions of this trope. While orange and blue are associated with the warmness of daytime and the coldness of the moonlight of night, the colors flip in this film. You get these cold, eerie daytime scenes and a lot of warm, motivated lighting at night. Not only does this make the daytime scenes just as suspenseful as the nighttime, but it also creates these soft shadows for night scenes, which makes the stuff around the subject look more mysterious. Jump scares have been a staple of horror movies since the 80s, particularly the jump scares that have some type of subversion attached. Build-up of suspense, something's gonna happen, what's going on, bam, cat jumps out, calm down, everything's fine, wham, killer's here. There were definitely jump scares before, Psycho for instance, but that jump scare plus subversion is a very specific structure. With Longlegs, the film is just oozing with dread. Once you get hooked, you stay hooked and you find yourself worried in every other scene. There are a lot of long shots that just sit on some seemingly mundane action, but sit for so long that it makes you fearful of something going on. Once you move inside, the coverage adds to that tension, getting closer and closer. However, you also have these scenes where you're following Micah's character Lee and it's just her. You're just with her, moving around or watching her examine something, and the camera is just wide enough that you feel like something's hiding in the corner or something's gonna jump out at you. This movie makes you anticipate the unexpected, especially because of a very intense scene at the start. Part of the marketing of Longlegs has been around the mystery behind Nick Cage's character and the lack of information you get from the trailers, posters, etc. This has been an absolute core reason as to why the film has been so successful. However, this blends into the movie as well. For the first 2/3 of the movie, it plays like the shark in Jaws, not really seeing the monster until the very end to amplify the monster and the suspense. Going back to the filmmaking point, there's a really great choice that gets made in a scene that sets up the movie at the beginning. A young girl sees someone drive up to her house and investigates. She can't find the person, but hears someone around the outside of the house. She keeps investigating until, surprise, it's Longlegs. But the framing is such that you don't see his face, and as he pops into frame, it cuts so quickly that you can't really make out any of his features. It's something so visceral and ugly that we can't see who this guy or thing is, which makes it that much more scary. We don't know what it's capable of or what the deal is, but we know it's bad. Adding to that dread and suspicion are the choices for framing and lenses. You get a lot of these conversation shots where the people, similar to Mr. Robot, are talking to the edge of the frame or talking at someone, given the lack of two shots in the film where you can see your two subjects. Going back to the long shot choices, I loved how they positioned the camera in these odd places too. Big wide shots that make you dart your head around, using almost fisheye lenses at times to make you feel like you're not in reality, and even mounting the camera on a car just to make the frame a little dirty and to make it that much more unnerving. With the success of Longlegs, you've had a bit of negative criticism levied at the film. It's basically two camps. Either the film is actually not that scary, or the performances are too weird, specifically Nick Cage. So the first camp. Yes, in a way, the film is not quote-unquote scary, given a couple of things. First, it's not scary if you've seen every horror movie. Some of the criticism online is that the film is for normies, and that you need to watch more horror movies if this is your idea of scary. Within the horror genre, you have subgenres, waves, segments, etc. What would be scary for a giallo fan may not work for a body horror fan. I think once you get that deep into specifically horror, then it's another story. Between the levels of gore, some of the more horrific creatures that get put on screen, or the insane kills, it can all make a regular horror movie look like Child's Play, not the movie of course.
I said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch, you filthy...
With that said, I believe Longlegs is still scary, especially if you are a fan of horror. The film does such a masterful job of making you feel such dread for what could happen. That is all thanks to the filmmaking, the pacing, the shot composition. Film is about feelings and the connection we have as human beings. Longlegs is a film about isolating the fears that we have at our core and capitalizing on them in horrifying scenes. It's not so much the action or the kills or anything like that, but the build-up to said action. On the subject of Nick Cage's performance, that feels a little dismissive. Part of the discourse online has been to recontextualize Nicolas Cage's career and truly highlight his great performances. Because of meme culture and a collection of less than impressive films that he's been in, putting it nicely, Nick Cage has garnered this reputation as being a bad actor.
Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah! Oh, my eyes! My eyes! Ah! Ah!
While that stretch of the late 2000s to 2010s can be rough in spots, the breadth of his work speaks for itself. He has been able to carry movies on his own, play alongside people in brilliant performances, and even do the most with little bit parts.
Sometimes I let matches burn down to my fingertips just to feel something, anything. Oh.
Cage has also undergone a bit of a career renaissance, starting with his performance in the film Mandy. Since then, he's taken on all these interesting late career roles that have been able to tap into his combination of outlandish physicality and his intense line delivery. Longlegs is no exception. So, to the kids who were seated next to me saying that they were laughing at Nick Cage in drag, you're wrong and you should give the movie another try. In short, I'd highly recommend Longlegs and try to go in blind when you watch it. So, now we get into spoiler talks. Everyone ready? No turning back, okay? Cool? Alright. Holy f***! Longlegs seriously f***ed my brain for a whole night. Here's some audio of me after the screening.
Oh God, that scared the there was a guy in the fucking, oh my God, there was a guy in this Honda that scared the shit out of me. Jesus Christ. Oh, God is good. God is good. God is good. God. Alright. God is good. God is great. Oh, okay. So anyway.
Not since Skinamarink has a horror movie affected me in such a way. As much as the marketing made it seem like the scariest movie in the world, this was a truly enrapturing experience that can really only be felt in a theater. It is The Silence of the Lambs meets Prince of Darkness with a little Rosemary's Baby in there. Lots to unpack here. Let's get back to the title of the video for a second though. The reason that this movie is kind of the culmination of the past 100 years of horror is because the film is the sum of many parts. From watching all sorts of horror movies over the years, you have an understanding of what's scary and when something's gonna happen. There is a rhythm to typical American storytelling, especially with horror. We talked about the jump scare, for example, but you also have things like the 3-act structure and character arcs, as well as conventions and tropes that carry across horror movies. Like with Skinamarink, Longlegs understands these tropes and not only builds on them, but subverts them in a way that is both satisfying and unnerving. The subversion is in the filmmaking techniques we talked about, as well as the presentation of Longlegs. Sure, you don't really see Longlegs until the tail end of Act 2. However, you've built him up so much through the little bits and pieces you've shown that he still seems menacing. Plus, the whole satanic thing makes you stay on the tips of your toes. The tropes lie in the whole structure of the film. A legit devil-worshipping evil guy who has the power of Satan on his side, who's also working with the FBI agent's mom to sacrifice families in the name of Satan. Holy f***. Let's dive into all that.
What's so funny?
You're right. No, our prayers don't help us. Prayers don't do a goddamn thing.
Full disclosure, Christian over here. Not gonna debate about the existence of God or anything like that. The reason I bring it up is to disclose why this film is so horrific to me. Longlegs takes what would be the ultimate evil, Satan on Earth, and makes it a reality, but does it in a way that doesn't feel cheap. It helps that the plot point kind of creeps up until it is wholly verbalized. While I would prefer a less loud and bombastic approach where the characters are just like, oh shit, this guy's a devil worshipper, also he's saying Hail Satan, it still works as the film has been preceded by such low-key and suggested horror. You get a police procedural in the same vein as Zodiac, except there is actual cosmic evil behind all this. That's where the film shines. The idea of good versus evil is present throughout all of storytelling. It's the bedrock of modern day storytelling, especially through all the subversions of the formula. Here, you have an actual black and white good versus evil that still feels raw enough to be real. What helps is that you had all that FBI stuff at the beginning to establish the real world evil that they deal with. Lee's partner getting shot is the perfect introduction to her world, where she must put on this cold face to deal with the absolute horrors she faces nearly every day. Then, she must wrestle with the possibility of an unearthly evil, and she can't understand it. Micah's performance is so textured and deep. She truly embodies Lee Harker and makes her feel like a real person. Within that real evil, you have this spiritual evil that is embodied by Longlegs. It very much feels like the horror of Twin Peaks or Fire Walk With Me, where the realities of the real world are clashing with the implication and ultimate realization of the spiritual. We are not just connected to the ground, there are legitimate other forces at play here. This point is further driven home by Longlegs talking about Lee as an angel. Quite literally, we have a battle of angels versus demons, using the medium of Lee and Longlegs doing battle. That question elevates the film. Are good and evil real? Is there some greater force that manipulates us all? Why do we do all these horrible things to each other? This film may not work for everyone. It may fall on deaf ears because of the use of Christianity as the bedrock for the horror, or the Nick Cage of it all. However, I truly feel that Longlegs is the best horror movie of the year because of the care with which it was made and the way it can make an audience feel. I saw Oz Perkins' most famous film before this called The Black Coat's Daughter. Would recommend it to someone who enjoyed this, as that was another film that created such a sense of dread and tension within the viewer. While that film may not have had the punch it needed, Perkins definitely delivered with Longlegs, a true world-class horror movie that you need to see by yourself or in a crowded movie theater. Do yourself a favor and feel the absolute dread of Longlegs. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe, as we do these kinds of video essays all the time. If you hated it, keep it to yourself, or sound off in the comments, I guess. Thanks again for watching and have a great day.